It's March Madness. You know what time it is. Get your brackets, get them filled out, but not that one. The Big West bracket. Who's going to be the champ? Who's the underdog? Which team should we look out for? Find out in the next edition of Sideline Sports Podcast. Welcome to Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. Feels so good to be back with you guys on Sideline Sports Podcast. Decided to take a week off to look for the big guest for this week's episode of Sideline Sports Podcast. But before we get into that, I'm Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast via Sideline Sports Media, where if you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast, a source of your SoCal sports news. Guys, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button down below, and also hit that notification bell, just like my guest is already saying. He's already hitting it. Look at, you see that? Phone up. He's already hit the bell. He's going to talk about with that bell. He's already hit the subscribe button.
No, man, no. Del Taco.
Oh, Del Taco. There you
Taco.
go. Oh, you know what? We need to do an episode about that. Del Taco or Taco Bell. We're going to have an episode like that, guys. Trust me on it. But also, while you guys are down there, follow us on all of our social media platforms. We just had Futboleando with Jose Duran starting that show, Center Locked, Sideline Sports Podcast. We got you guys covered with everything SoCal sports. But you know what? If you guys recognize that voice, yes, it is Jason Schwartz himself, Long Beach State men's basketball voice. And for all you loyal Lake Elsinore Storm fans, that's Jason Schwartz himself. Going into his second year with the Storm. Jason, what's good? How was your year with Long Beach State? And I know it was nothing but great vibes with the beach this year.
Yeah, it was a great year. Thanks for having me on, Alex. It's been a long time coming, right? Yeah, it was a great year for Long Beach State basketball. I mean, I think Long Beach State is one of those programs, in the Big West that's so special and so unique. And I think that its fans, given its history and all that, it's a team that a lot of people they expect to compete every year for a conference title. And so there's big time disappointment when it doesn't happen and when they're not in the mix for an NCAA tournament bid. And I think this year, to see the pyramid come alive again and to see the fan base and the coaching staff and the players believe again and to have that life kind of brought back to the program, it was a special thing. It continues to be a special thing as they head to Henderson to start the Big West tournament. And so it was, the vibes at the pyramid, the vibes at the program. It was a great year.
Hey, get this, guys. The mid was not even at full capacity. And there were those Thursday night games where the student section was lit, just having the times of their lives. And I know Jason and we had texted a couple of times during the season, and the energy inside the Walter Pyramid was just amazing throughout the whole entire year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, definitely towards the end of the year. Definitely, I think once everyone realized that, the team can compete. I mean, let's also go back. We also had COVID affect the season too, right? So there was a whole stretch of time from the beginning of January to the beginning of February when they had to limit capacity in the arena, in the pyramid. So, once that ended and people realized, hey, this team is competing for a conference title, things really took off from there. And I think the students and just the community really hopped on the bandwagon. And, I think the beautiful thing about the fan base at Long Beach State is if they continue to succeed, right? Like, that's going to be a hard ticket to get. Pyramid's going to be packed all the time if they can continue that success. We see that with baseball. We see that with volleyball. And so, I have no doubt that next year, if the team continues to play well, those games are going to be a really fun atmosphere.
Long Beach State spring sports, Jason. You know it's lit. You know it's a good time all the time. Softball, baseball, men's volleyball, basketball. You know it's the life to be a Long Beach State fan. You know you've got the great sports. You know you got the talent going into that. But how about some of the trials going into the Big West? I mean, the UCIs, the Cal State Fullertons, the Hawaiis that were a challenge this year for Long Beach State. But let's first talk about the beach and the trials that they had to go through and they had to endure. The class, the players that they had this year, the 1-2 punch with Murray and Slater. When was the last time we saw a 1-2 punch that great in the Big West Conference?
Yeah, I know Cal State Fullerton a few years ago had a pretty talented 1-2 punch with a couple of guards, but
I
yeah,
remember
no,
that.
I think even more with Long Beach. Yes, they had Joel Murray, yes, they had Colin Slater. That's the 1-2 punch you're referring to, but they're a deep team this year. I mean, they have Jadon Jones, who is a Long Beach native in his second year. He's technically a freshman because of the COVID year, but it's his second year, and he just got named Big West Defensive Player of the Year this year. A guy who I'm sure we'll talk about plenty on this podcast, who I love, a true freshman, Abubakar Traore. Like I really believe that they don't get where they are now. They don't win the conference without what he was able to do. And then then you're talking about guys like Jordan Roberts in his fifth year as a starter who he's more than a role player, but he doesn't have to be the face. You got a guy like Joe Hampton coming off the bench. This team this year was just really deep. And so, you have that 1-2 punch of Slater and Murray. Slater today was named Big West Player of the Year. Murray, first team All Big West. But it's a deep team this year. They used a lot of guys, played really well to get it done.
You're absolutely right. And the guys had a really good bench, I would have to say as well. When you had a guy in foul trouble, when you had a guy even struggling, he's like 1 for 9 from behind the arc. You always had a guy that you can always depend on, that you had trust in, for coming from the bench, that they could produce, and that they're still going to carry that momentum for Long Beach State. But what I really like what they enforced this year that I noticed is really enforcing that full court press and really enforcing a lot of turnovers, making it tough for other guys.
Definitely. Dan Munson told me before the season started, he and I meet at the beginning of every season to go through the roster, talk about the players, talk about where the team is at. He told me this year before the season started, he said for the first time in a long time, he felt like the defense was ahead of the offense. And during non-conference play, that wasn't really apparent. Like the team didn't play that well overall during non-conference. But when the defense really gelled once conference play started, yeah, I mean, they had an 11-game winning streak, the longest winning streak they've had since the 2012 season. And during that winning streak, they held their opponents to under 70 points in every single game. They had a great perimeter defense. I think they had the best 3-point field goal percentage defense in the league. You mentioned the turnovers. They did a great job turning teams over. And on top of that, they played well offensively. They scored. So, I mean, it's not a surprise to see this team end up where they ended up when you have the highest scoring offense in the league and a defense that really turned it on, played with a lot of intensity, a lot of heart. You mentioned the full court press, but it was a difference maker. It was a very complete team this year.
And the cool thing is that you're going to have the heart of that team still together, the core of it. You're still going to have Murray. You're still going to have Hampton. You're still going to have Traore, and you're still going to have Jones. Unfortunately, you're going to lose Slater after the tournament.
Well, they're actually losing Joe as well. So they're losing Joe. They're losing Joe. They're losing Colin Slater. They're losing Jordan Roberts, who's a fifth-year guy who just played his 134th game. He's played more games for Long Beach State than any team in school history. They also lost a guy who I think is big off the bench in Drew Cobb. So they are losing quite a bit going into next year. But you did mention Traore, Jadon Jones, Joel Murray. That's a really good those are 3 really good players to start with coming back next year for sure.
So then if you're Long Beach State, thinking about next year, you're really going to have to look for guys that are going to have to fill their role. But how about the game that I think a lot of Long Beach State fans were watching after the win on Thursday? I changed it to ESPNU, and I tuned into that Fullerton UCR game, and what a game that was. Cal State Fullerton, I believe they're coming in as the 2 seed. I know you could correct me on that, but that's a tough game for them to lose, and a tough UCR team to come in, and they're going to be a strong team with a new head coach. That's a resilient team coming in with a mission, and Long Beach State got their money's worth in that game.
Yeah. Look, I think we talk about this in the Big West every year, right? The last few years, Long Beach has been that team that goes into the tournament as maybe the 5 seed or the 6 seed or the 7 seed. And they believe if we get hot for 3 games, we can win this tournament. It hasn't happened for them, but we've seen it happen for other teams, right? And so, this year, Long Beach is the team with the target on their back as the 1 seed. But the teams you just mentioned, they're all capable of winning this tournament. We just saw it this last week, right? I mean, UC Riverside and Long Beach State went to overtime. UC Davis, right? Long Beach State, the UC Davis, I think they're going to be the 7 seed. The Beach needed a last-second 3 to beat them on Thursday night. Fullerton is really good. UC Irvine is playing really well. UC Santa Barbara, the defending champs, they're getting hot. So it's totally up for grabs. There are a lot of teams who are going to Henderson this week thinking that they can win the tournament for sure.
That's going to be the cool thing about it. This year, new venue, new look to the Big West. That remodel, the remake of the Big West logo, and just what they have done with enforcing ESPN Plus, a new venue instead of going to the Honda Center. I think this is going to be something big for the Big West. Now, what's a school that you think will come out of the dark and really give like some of these top seeded teams a hard time?
Kind of like we were just going through, right? I don't think I can name one because you look at the seeds 1 through 7, 1 through 7, you've got Long Beach State, you've got Cal State Fullerton, you've got UC Irvine, you've got UC Santa Barbara, you've got Hawaii, you got UC Riverside, and you got UC Davis. And, even Cal State Bakersfield, they play tough. You have all these teams who can win any game on any given night. So it's hard to pick one of those teams. I mean, I think UC Riverside is really talented. UC Davis is always well coached with Jim Less, and they've got 2 terrific players in Ezra Mannion and Elijah Pepper. All these teams, they're going in there confident that they can get hot and they can win the tournament. So it's hard to pick one when I think 1 through 7, you look at those 1 through 7 seeds, and I think any of those teams can realistically make some noise.
Absolutely. And really talking about a lot of these Big West teams, it's anybody could beat anybody. And it's just, it's a one.
That's how it's always been in the tournament, right? In this conference. That's what I'm saying. Long Beach State the last few years, they might not have been a top seed, but they went to the Honda Center thinking that they had a chance to win the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. Remember that year that they went to the Honda Center and beat Hawaii in a game that it went to the absolute wire. It was
Jordan Roberts hit a buzzer beater, and then the next game they played UC Irvine, and they led up until about the 6 or 7 minute mark of the second half, maybe even 5-minute mark, and then Irvine ended up winning that game, won the conference, and that's the year that Irvine made their run in the NCAA tournament.
And I believe they were eliminated by U of O. Is that correct? Or they eliminated U of O?
Yeah, you would know better. You're the Eugene guy now.
I know. I should be hearing the buzz. You remember when U of O beat UCI that year, went down to the wire type of thing? It was here at the Matthew Knight type of thing. But how about, Long Beach State? They don't play until Thursday. They are going to be waiting the winner of Game 3, which will be CSU Bakersfield and CSUN. Who do you think would be more of a threat for Long Beach State in a situation like this?
Oh man, that's hard to say. I think Bakersfield is a team that plays tough. Long Beach only saw them once this year. Their game up in Bakersfield was canceled, so maybe because of the unfamiliarity and the fact that Coach Barnes he has that Bakersfield team playing hard and tough on most nights. So I don't know. I think I feel fairly confident that if the Beach can take care of business against either of those teams, but it's once they get to Friday and then Saturday that they're going to get a really tough opponent.
Yeah, no doubt. It's I think they can really take care of business Thursday. Friday is going to show hey, if you're a big boy, if you can handle the heat, you could take the heat, then you're here for the long run type of thing. But I'm not going to discount any of the other matchups that are going in on Thursday. I mean, for crying out loud, you've got UCSB against UCI. Like, that's going to be a great one. You've got the UCR against Hawaii. Like, man, Thursday is going to be a day.
And if you're Long Beach State, the good thing about UCI and UC Santa Barbara playing each other,
you might not have to play one.
One of those teams is going to be out.
Yeah.
One of those teams is going to be out, right? I mean, those are two dangerous teams.
Hey, and the thing is, okay, let's say if Santa Barbara wins, you don't play them at the Thunderdome. And you know how good they are in the Thunderdome. And the Beach didn't play very well there at the Thunderdome. So now it's one of those, okay, well, guess what, Gauchos? We're here at Henderson. You're going to have to make the Thunderdome come here now if you want to bring the heat. But I don't know. Like, that's another question. Do you want to face against the Anteaters or the Gauchos? These are two very good teams.
Yeah. I think the beautiful thing, if you're Long Beach State this year, and they lost to both the Gauchos and Anteaters on the road this year. I think the beautiful thing is the 1 seed. You just got to be confident that you're the 1 seed for a reason, and you got to know that, hey, our ultimate goal is to go to the NCAA tournament. So we can't be sitting here thinking, oh, we'd rather play this guy, we'd rather play that guy. Like, we know this year that we got to play whoever stands across from us on the other side of the court, and we got to beat them because we're better this year. So, I hope they're not doing too much. Oh, I hope we see this team, not that team, because that could get them into trouble. They've beaten everybody in the conference this year. They've already proven they can do it. So, I think no matter who it is, they could do it in Henderson.
I think that's a fact. I think it's just going to be one of those get to Henderson. Maybe what's that?
I said facts.
Yeah, it's the absolute fact. Just because I think it's going to be one of those get to Henderson, maybe get a practice in depending on what day they get there. Do you know when they get there at all? Or
yeah, they should be there tomorrow.
Oh, so
I think they'd be there tomorrow. I mean, at the very latest Wednesday, of course, but I think they probably would get in tomorrow.
Hey, I mean, maybe you get a practice in. Maybe later on during the day, you can either go enjoy the Strip, enjoy some Vegas scenery, or you can
I don't know, man. I think they're going to be pretty focused. I think the Vegas scenery, I think the coaches are happy it's in Henderson and not in Vegas, because it's a good 20-30 minute drive to get to the Strip, no distractions. So I think they'll be pretty focused as long as they're there on the tournament.
Yeah, I can see the coaches being like, all right, boys, I don't get no distractions now. I need you focused, locked in the game. So now we haven't talked about these guys. Let's talk about Fullerton. Now, I see this team going down to the wire, if you ask me. They're going to play their hearts out. This is going to be a tough team to beat, as they always are. And I'm going to put it out there. Long Beach State, Cal State Fullerton for the final. Lock it in. Just lock it in already.
Okay. All right. How about that? All right. So you're going 1 seed versus 2 seed. You don't think there's going to be any funny business before that? You're going the 1 versus 2 for the championship.
Yes, but then you know what? Like,
wait, don't doubt yourself. You were pretty confident a moment. Don't doubt. I don't want to make you doubt yourself. I'm just confirming.
Okay, yeah, 1 and 2 seed. Put it in the book.
1 versus 2. Okay.
There it is. while you guys are over there in Vegas, put it in the books, 1 seed versus 2 seed. Do it for me. Make the 20, 30-minute drive in Vegas and put it in the books for me right there. 1 versus 2.
Do you want someone to put it in the sports books for you?
Yeah. Yeah, do it for me. And let's see how well I do. Well, no, I won't be a very good guy gambling for that game if I end up losing that one.
Yeah.
But Jason, what say you? What do you think will be in the final? Who do you think?
Oh, I don't know, man. I have a hard time making a prediction on that. I mean, first of all, I'd have to look at the bracket and see how the bracket shakes out. So I don't know. I do think that I feel confident that Long Beach State will get there. I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard to win the tournament. I think especially when you got the 1 seed and that target on your back, I think it's going to be tough. And like we've been talking about plenty on the show, there are a lot of teams that are talented enough to do it. I don't know. I can't really make a prediction. I don't want to jinx anything. It's not my place to do it really. But I think that Long Beach has the depth. They have the defense, they have the leadership, and they got the vibe and the swag and the confidence this year to do it. I'm not saying they're going to for sure, but I'm saying that I think of all the teams I've seen in the league this year, they're in a really good position to get the job done.
I mean, I'm not going to deny that. I mean, you're the number 1 team for a reason. You had that winning streak during the year as well. It took UC Santa Barbara to have to beat them, and they were riding that streak, and they were just playing really good basketball throughout that thing. But you know what? When it comes down to the Big West tournament, when do we ever see a boring game? When do we ever see a game that's not close? Every game goes down to the final couple possessions of the game. It's a 2-possession, at most 3-possession game in the last couple of minutes of the game, but it just goes down to the final minute where every possession begins to be key. Ever since the times of the Honda Center, and just as well as I do, every game is an interesting one in the Big West in the tournament.
Oh yeah, as it should be, right? I mean, there's so much on the line. You're in a neutral site. You said this earlier, but I agree with you. I'm excited to see what this new building looks like, what the atmosphere is like in there. Obviously, the Honda Center is a great building, but it was just too big for the Big West tournament. The atmosphere was nice sometimes, but it wasn't that intimate, high drama setting that hopefully we're going to get in this at the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson. So yeah, I'm with you, man. It seems like the Big West tournament, we see a lot of close games. We see a lot of upsets. We see a lot of surprises, big time performances. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
And the Dollar Loan Center that's the Raiders training center, right?
No, it's in Henderson, where I think the Raiders training center is located, but the Dollar Loan Center is a new building, and this is going to be the first ever event there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I don't even know if it's completely finished yet. Like they might be still doing construction or something somewhere while this tournament's going on. I'm not sure, but yeah, so that's where the new hockey team is going to play. There's I think they're getting a hockey team there. It's going to be the Vegas Golden Knights minor league team, and I think they're going to be playing at this arena.
Dang, Vegas in the maps now, man. Vegas they were trying to bid for the A's to come down here. Imagine the Las Vegas A's. I think that'd be pretty cool. There you have your AAA team. Just a few. It
wouldn't be cool for Oakland.
I know they wouldn't enjoy that very much. I mean, all you have left are the Warriors, really. But
the Warriors moved to San Francisco.
Well, then you're left with nothing now. So unfortunate for Oakland, then, right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. No, I'd like to see the A's stay in Oakland, but yeah, no, Vegas is becoming a spot on the sports map for sure, no doubt.
Sheesh, you got the Raiders, you got the Las Vegas Lights, you have UNLV, now you have your minor league hockey there. Sheesh, like they're moving up for sure. They're definitely moving up, and with all the conference tournaments that go on every year as well, Vegas is the place to be, man. It's the place to be. But that's all the time we have left here on Sideline Sports Podcast. We thank you all so much for tuning into this one. If you guys enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button down below, and also comment what you guys think. Who's gonna be at that final, guys? Comment your predictions. You guys can even create your own Big West bracketology, as well as a lot of bracketologists. Is that what we're calling them now? So a lot of bracketologists out there already making their predictions and already presetting the brackets as these tournaments go on. So I want to hear you guys' predictions and who you guys think is going to be moving on. But that's Jason Schwartz, folks, himself, the voice of Long Beach State men's hoops and the voice of the Lake Elsinore Storm. Jason, I look forward to hearing some of your calls over there in Lake Elsinore, and I'm wishing you the best of luck there, man. Here comes another crazy season, and all eyes on MILB right now as far as with everything going on with MLB.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Looking forward to baseball. To you as well up in Eugene. Looking forward to hearing your calls in the Northwest League or High A North or West or whatever it's called now. And yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Like I said, long time coming. So glad we were able to talk some Long Beach State and some Big West hoops.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure to have you on to the podcast. And guys, if you guys liked it, we'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the Big West tournament. Alex Naveja, the host of Sideline Sports Podcast, the source of your SoCal sports, signing off. Have a good one, everybody.